Pan Am is a community of people that pushes you to do all of the things that you originally would think we can't do that.
To drive a drone for over a mile.
Wearing goggles, in a moving car, going like 80 miles an hour and then trying to fly this thing.
How are we going to get into
The real locations where all of this took place.
It's a continuous take.
And as soon as we hit record and we start going, we're not stopping till the next day.
We did this with no budget.
And there's supposed to be these ferocious dogs.
Yeah, there was for sure a global pandemic.
Nursing homes were the front line of danger.
And the motorcycle's got to go from about 0 to like 100.
Yeah, I don't know how to ride a motorcycle.
This is it. We only had one go at it, and we're all just like,
3,
okay.
2, 1.
if you're part of Pan Am, you just know that that's what you're going to do.
So I forget until I talk about it. I'm like, there was so much stuff. I'm like, it really was crazy. I guess the only way I can describe it is in the past with our film group is we often try to do the thing that we shouldn't do.
And it's scary to commit to that, but it is so liberating and energizing and exciting to be able to just say, well, that's nearly impossible, but we know that come a week from now, we'll be talking about how we did it.
So this was an amazing project to be part of. I never thought I would be able to make a movie with my closest friends, and I don't know, just thinking about that gives me goosebumps right there, because these are people who I've been hanging out with for years.
The inception of Pan Am would have been period piece.
Split screen, ride of your life. The used cars commercials, of course. Eyes Like Mine. To Have and to Hold. Naked Dad. Opossum. I think that's all of them.
After Opossum was when we decided we needed to take it a step up. We needed to really get involved with what we've always wanted to do, is make a feature. Of course, everybody was on board. Mother's Day was born.
But to put together a whole 2-hour movie in a summer using basically equipment that we can get our hands on, like we had no budget and everybody was just so passionate about this project.
How do you make a feature with no budget?
What was the question?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I think Pan Am does differently is that we all have unique backgrounds of just non-set life. So in the sense of not traditional filmmaking, so in a good way. A lot of people just aren't around big sets, and so we've acclimated to how we think a story should be told or how we think a set should be run versus what Hollywood tells us or what the norm tells us. One, it gives everyone a voice, and then two, it also gives it a quicker, leaner approach.
At our biggest, we were 10 to 15 people, and at times there was camera tests where it was me, Megan, and Cole. 3 people who were really making this thing happen.
It's much more grassroots, but still with not sacrificing the story, which is the most important, but without adding superficial elements of just everything that a set can bring. That's what I think Pan Am does very well and is unique at.
Everyone's there voluntarily, so what unifies us is a common vision and the understanding that if we do work together and pull weight, we can move something bigger than ourselves.
It's a morphing group depending on the project.
Right now, what that is having this collective space where we can come and create stories that are both meaningful and fulfilling to us.
To create, to learn, and to just be friends.
I have been a stay-at-home mom and caregiver for 4.5 years. And so to be around like-minded individuals was really encouraging to me. And I got to share, what was on my heart and what I would like to do, what I used to do, and to realize oh my goodness, I'm around people who want to do the same thing.
just about every single person that's involved in the group has a deep love for this city.
Go Bills.
So because of that, we don't want to go anywhere else to shoot our films.
Buffalo is more than just my home. I mean, honestly, it feels like maybe a big brother who tragically passed away, and now I need to defend his name, like, to the grave, and I'll fight anybody, you know. And all it is I recognized Buffalo as like a treasure and an underdog that people like Forbes would easily like kick to the curb. And I don't think we should give up so easily on these things, and I'm gonna do everything I can to nurture it and take advantage of the city that it is. It's great.
It's not just an emotional thing because there's so much the city has to offer and this area has to offer with locations and buildings and just the spirit of the community when you're shooting here. People rally around.
I don't think anyone at Pan Am expected the fundraising to go as well and as quickly as it went.
We've reached our goal. We've surpassed our goal.
Thank you so much.
So how does one make a feature film by themselves? They don't, they won't, they can't. A community can make a film by themselves, but not a person. And I think that's what Pan American Film Division does so well, is it is a community, and then that community can touch one other ring of a community, at least at first, especially in this situation when we couldn't even fundraise.
With everything that happened in 2020, we had to cancel not one, but two really important fundraisers.
And literally almost everyone on the team decided to work for free, to volunteer their time to tell this story, which is amazing.
You do it because it's for the people. You do it for the people that are involved with it, because they need you.
Even though it was the most I've ever worked or hardest I've ever pushed myself or stretched myself thin or pulled favors. It's been a crazy, crazy day. Crazy day. I never felt like I wanted to complain because it was just all connected with the core of what I wanted to do, and it just felt like such a nutritious experience. And honestly, every filmmaker should start, maybe a lot of artistic endeavors should start in this place. Do you have enough gumption to push this thing through, even when it's at its most raw and difficult? If it all falls apart, you need your passion, or you physically need to pick it up.
But I think it was good for us to see kind of the importance of money in some aspects of film.
To know that so much has gone behind the scenes and coming up and creating this movie, it's incredible. Like, movies aren't made this way.
I was like, ah!
For me, it's that opportunity, the outlet to be creative with my favorite people and just make beautiful things, tell stories. I love it.
So Travis had been writing films since the day I met him. The funny part was he had been writing the same book for years, and one day he came to us and he said, I had a really impactful conversation with my mom a couple years ago, and I think it could be a movie. And about, I want to say, a week later, he came back to us and said, okay, the script's done. And I said, done? Because you're the same guy who's taken 3 years to write a chapter in a book. 8 years?
Hopefully I can get something pulled off here and finish one of these endless projects.
It's here. We finally showed it.
It's like therapy.
We'll do interviews every Yes.
We'll call this an interview.
Yeah.
Why do you drink so much, do you think?
Well, good luck, man. 2,000 words to go.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, my first experience of Mother's Day was the day that it happened, back in 2013 or 14. Got on my motorcycle and I had tears and my throat was totally raw, basically lost my voice. It was so sore from so much shouting. I had all this adrenaline in my system because the dog had bit my ankle.
It's every single time that we see each other.
The only thing I could connect it to in my head was melodramatic movies I had seen.
Don't worry, I can't be bothered. You're not with
And
the
I just thought, you know, should I write that down right now while I remember every beat of it? And I couldn't and didn't because I thought it wasn't right to. You're not supposed to talk about your private life. Like, it just felt like taboo. And it took me a very long time to grow up enough to realize that there's importance to communicating something like that.
It had to be like October 2019, I think it was. Travis reached out and mentioned that he had written a script.
Just as an exercise, I would just write down what I thought happened that day.
And then all of a sudden he's like, it's done. You want to do a read through? And I was like, okay.
Travis, the Bronze, and I got together to read the script. It was the first time, I believe the first time anybody was reading it after Travis had written it.
At the time I was pregnant and nobody knew yet.
Mother's Day by Travis Carlson. Exterior, farmhouse on a hill, early morning.
Isn't this nice? Getting to sit out here.
Hopefully I can pull something off here and actually finish one of these endless projects.
Peeling back layer after layer, and when you just think, I mean, it's really good. It's essentially as if you're like reading a book and you're ending a chapter.
Okay, so this trip was really to go down and see him.
And you're like, where is this going to take me next?
Stop telling me what other people said. You are in charge of your life. You do these things.
Well, I don't know what you want me to say.
It was something really powerful, something really real and raw.
You could hear it in my voice. He knew something was wrong.
But it hurts and I'm bleeding.
You scare her.
Really? She's out of control and she bites someone and you take her side?
It's just loaded. It's packed with a lot of real raw emotion.
Who's my mom?
He cries.
Because I do love her, even if it's so fucking hard to talk to her. I can't find her anymore. She's not listening.
She sees Jordan astride his bike in Frank's driveway.
No, stop. Honey, no, stay. I'm so sorry.
Jordan turns off the bike.
Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you. Same to you.
Another day, Mother's Day. The end.
But my first reaction was like, we have to make this into a movie. Just the conversations that we had, the four of us, about our own families or people we know or our own stories, and like what this story brought up for us.
It became like a 2-hour discussion about all of our upbringings, their own upbringings and their own relationships with their family members. And I was like, ooh, that's it. Like, I don't even know if we all knew and would point our fingers to like, oh yeah, that's what happens and that's why it's valuable. But that is what happened, and I do think that's why it's valuable.
I felt so connected to the story that by the time I was done, I was just thinking this has to come to life.
Right away, I was connected to it. Once I knew it was a story about just two people and a family and mental health, that is a huge thing in my life and my family's life. So I'm automatically connected to that.
And it was a powerful one, and I'll admit one that I didn't expect to be as moved by as I was. So.
And I have to be a part of it.
I was all in.
I think somebody's going to relate to one of those characters, whether it be the son or the mother.
It's a very personal story, and potentially some of the ugliest parts and not the most amazing parts of my mom, and she is amazing. But maybe this would do more good than The Amazing Things, you know, to talk about and to point the spotlight at. She was the first person I called when we thought we might make this, to see if this was even something that she would want available. And she really appreciated that and thought about it and talked to her counselors about it, and then decided that it was the right choice that we make this movie, tell this story. But we did talk a lot about the event, and we wouldn't have. That was just something we'd put away, that part of our life, like a very, yeah, it hurt and hurt both of us. So many movie conventions, it's just like good versus evil. Mother's Day is not that, and like a real conversation is not that. It was me fighting as hard as I could to protect my mother from what I thought could be like extremely damaging actions.
Listen to me! Mom, I love you, okay? I do so much. I mean, that's what this is.
It's worth talking about, you know. A lot of people feel sheltered or shy to come forward and mention things like this, and it's so many things that you can get involved with just to talk to people.
About not only their mental health, but their relationship. You know, relationships between two people who don't see things the same way. You know, they don't have a perfect conversation, but they're working to get on the same page with one another.
I mean, really the goal is that it gets people talking about some of those things that are probably deep in their stomach and they just don't touch all the time. And, you know, just because maybe it happened 10 years ago, you know, it's just their childhood, you know, or their relationship with their family. But there's still things that need to be talked about. I think a lot of us have it, and I think watching two people go to the most vulnerable parts of themselves creates room in your own heart to say, like, man, what are some of the things that I would be talking about in that situation? And I don't care if you talk about my childhood or my story or how it felt, made you think, but hopefully it says, man, this is sort of like the way I was raised and taught, and then changed.
Any different way, if you tell your story in any different way, I think it will, you know, it'll touch somebody different, and I think that expands the conversation of mental health.
I mean, so this film was probably created and exported in full at least 30 times before we got to day one of shooting.
Which is like what every film should be, because you just watch it and you're like, that's bad, this is, take away this, add this, take away that, and that's what we were able to do with this.
Which is an amazing process. That means we had 30 times to make revisions, and every single time it certainly got better. And even, I'm dangerous to say how close we got to shooting day and still didn't have some of the key components that were going to make this thing work.
I'm doing it by myself, but I guess I'm trying to see if I'm like, can I like control the easy rig somehow?
Yeah, it'll probably also help with the easy rig. The decision to do a continuous take was never an obvious choice.
We shot a whole version of the film at the Bronze House with Travis playing Jordan and Maria playing Wendy.
I'm trying to help you. This will be worse.
Stop yelling!
It's important to see you're making someone upset.
Part of my disability.
Nobody has more problems than you.
I do! And I have anxiety, Jordan.
Okay, and anxiety.
This isn't a joke!
3, 2, 1, action.
Thanks. See you soon.
See you in an hour and a half, people. Go Bills.
Yeah.
Go Bills. Go Bills.
Me playing the dog.
Right? Little did I know that me playing Damon at that moment would be my rehearsal for actually playing the role of Damon.
So we shot the whole film on like the first day of working on the film, the first day of pre-production.
It's action.
That's just one clip. Starts at one point and like 300 gigabytes later, it stops.
We filmed the whole thing, and there was like 5 minutes after where I was like kind of in euphoria. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is something. This is cool. I felt very excited. I also loved the idea of the oneer. I felt like there was a lot of like stuff there.
You're telling a story, a very dynamic story with one camera shot.
not only are we keeping a continuity of performance and a continuity of this real moment that was happening and as it unfolds for an hour and 45 minutes, but whether it's conscious or not, the audience knows that there is no hidden trick, no bells or whistles. There wasn't a camera break. There wasn't several days that have passed between one person saying a line and someone else saying the next line. Because the camera doesn't cut, there just truly is no way to bend physics and break the illusion of this magic trick.
And how is not normal. There's a few films that tackle it successfully.
But in my opinion, the best reason for it is the immersion.
The audience and the actors have no escape hatch. They can't just get away from this conversation and take a break, think about their thoughts and recompose. That's not what it was the day of, and it's not what it is for the audience.
When you're in the backyard with Wendy and Jordan, you're there. You realize that they were just over there. The sun is changing.
This is all real time.
It's not like superficial, you know that nothing was changed, and it's almost like a brain trick because I even got it when I watched it, and I was just like, oh wow, the lights changed a lot.
I mean, the continuity was so important for the characters of Jordan and Wendy.
But you can't be married to two people. Can you?
And I mean, when something's this real and this raw, I can't imagine getting the same quality of a performance if there were constant cuts and different
Even
days.
If he's a great guy, you have to talk to lawyers about protecting your stuff, Mom. You have to do that before you even think about it, okay?
I don't know why you are so worried.
Because it's a big deal!
Don't!
It's a huge deal, Mom. That is all of yours and Dad's money. Like, what if he is just marrying and divorcing women as a source? You can't mess up, and if you do, you just have to roll through with it. So the beauty within that, though, on the other hand, is that there's this rawness to doing a one continuous shot. I am willing to help you. As long as you're willing to use it.
The theater actor in me was really excited about that.
You see so much.
Now, I didn't know how that was going to work.
One of the first days the actors were rehearsing, we shot the whole film again, this time on location.
I'm sorry, but I mean, at least you know up front now before your money's spent.
Yeah, but I really only need to make it until I get disability.
80% of that house is still the fingerprints of 3 generations of my family, and and thus sort of like this core way that I even saw the world.
Like, wow, this took place in this room, in this house, in this living room, and in this garage, and in this backyard.
In this exact, not just house, but in the exact same spot. And we're retelling it. And I think, what would that be like for me to relive some of the most profound or interesting or scary or funny moments in my life and make a film on it?
It was worse, but you're doing pretty good. Come on. And that's even part of it is now I'm on display.
Yep.
And all this stuff. And then I will end up going to the garage.
Yep.
The scene, and Jay was walking up the driveway, and I thought for a second, what is he thinking? There's a man standing in his doorway with his coffee cup, being him, just playing you, and I just thought, how does he feel about this?
I'll see ya.
Yeah, all right.
A real location in reality will take you 90% towards the truth and the authenticity of a project, and that just radiates in every element. So getting to be in the actual spot and almost not touching anything, and we might bring in a few little accents that might have some symbolic meaning.
Next to the photos is a little Christmas decoration, and it's of a home, and it's a shattered home. A little thing of super glue next to it, as if she had gone to fix it and then came across all of these memories of what once was. And I think that that's such a clever little hint thrown in.
There's this recurring theme of homes in general. We open the film with a shot of a home, and it gives you a certain feeling. Then we have Mrs. Campbell, who's looking at an idealized house puzzle. As we go down Route 60, we see this visual journey of the different houses in the community, and then this, you know, smaller house that's under the shadows of some maple trees.
In the distance in the backyard, there is a nativity set. It's like a light-up Christmas decoration that's toppled over, and it's clearly no longer Christmas. It hasn't been, you know, cleaned up or anything. But when you think about the family unit,
and then behind it, the neighbor's yard, we have maybe an echo of what Wendy's life, or the life she had wanted, was. A father and a mother in their 30s with their child, until the context of their argument pushes them away from the background. And
what we found is holding off some perspectives and some techniques was very good because it allowed us to give people a different experience.
I mean, I think it's like 40 minutes through the movie before you get to see what we would call 3 o'clock.
Let's say that you're my noon, you know, this would be 3 o'clock, this is 6 o'clock. But there was a point where Sherry would draw a clock. We could probably write a new language book with the terms we used.
Even though the location's not changing, that was our way to say the location is changing in a way, because you're actually starting to see the 360 degrees of the space.
As simple as it sounds, and we felt kind of silly because in reality it's a simple backyard. It was just not that complex, but it worked.
Hopefully each time you really are coming back to a space, it's changed enough, either because of our ensemble characters, or the laundry's being moved, or because we're shooting from sundown into blue hour, that experience has changed and become new again.
Now I had lost him.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up before fear, and my biggest fear, again, and I don't want to get sappy, was to be letting you down, and to be letting, you know, Pan American down, because this was a big thing for the company to be doing this movie, and to hire somebody, you know, who is an actress but never did a movie before. Like, that was a fear.
You have to remember, Travis wrote this film based on his real life. So it was a huge intimidation at first, having to act while he directs and I'm acting as him. So there was a lot of pressure. And I say at first because after a while, we built a great relationship, and then kind of forgot about all that and just served the story and the character.
The acting on both ends for Mike and Lisa and other cast members as well is phenomenal.
I lost my mom a year ago. I'm going through a divorce. Do you know how much grief that is? Nobody has suffered as much as I am.
Hold on.
The amount of preparation that went into something like that.
Hold on. You know anyone who's gone through suffered? Mom. Do you know how selfish that sounds?
So we kind of got our tour of Buffalo parks with our lawn chairs and mothers and sons yelling at each other.
For them to really deliver was something that you just don't typically see unless you go to a 1-person or 2-person play live in person and see that actually happen.
All in all, I think we did 4 shooting days. We just get 1 take per night.
So yeah, we're walking onto Michelle's house where she is currently living, and transforming it into Wendy's house, transforming her garage into Wendy's garage.
It's so slow.
Making sure that all the lights and things that need to be triggered at some point through this 2 hours are ready and in place and working and have the electricity that they need. So we're spending an hour or so getting everything prepped, and then it's like this big anticipation of like, all right, this is the start, and like once we're going, that's it. It's just gonna keep going for 2 hours until it's done and
make it happen. And there was I remember the one, I think it was a rehearsal, but you know, it was just raining.
Totally different than last time. Are you worried about it?
Maybe a little.
And we're like, what if that happens? You know, we're like, we need to be ready for this because we're not gonna bail, you know? So like, how are we gonna deal with it?
I'm just talking to my mom. We're getting ready.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, my pleasure, my
The
pleasure.
dogs are barking inside, so we wanted to sit out here. It was so nice a little while ago. Honey, help him.
He said he's got it.
But it was a roller coaster. There were some takes where I felt really comfortable with it and like happy. There were some takes where I was really upset and mad and almost always be at myself. It was just like, it was hard. Some of it was just physical, where it was just like, it's to hold a camera that long isn't that bad. It's more about like holding a camera and being a cinematographer for that long is what's hard. Is like, okay, your back hurts, you can't move though, you know, because if you move and you try to like even just do this, it's gonna fuck it up.
I mean, the camera's handheld, so it felt more documentary, more like war photography, but you still couldn't really, we didn't want you to really feel the cameraman's steps. So a lot of times when he's moving closer, we found this technique where when he pans left to right, he would hide a step in there.
You're the one that's in control of your life. You're the one that does these things. What do you want me to say?
And then I would kind of hold there for a second, wait for someone else to do a little move, and then I'd take another big step. And I would just do this, and so that way my steps were, and it works really well. Camera movement was like allowed by the actors, which was really cool. But that took a lot of tests to figure out, and a lot of dissecting.
It's usually IQ I'm waiting for, like once he sends me, you know, and then once he sends me, I guess I gotta dedicate pretty hard because it's such a hard, I'm usually right here, so then I gotta do a full twist to get there, which maybe I'll just try to reposition myself better.
Why doesn't this work? And you know, we would talk about why it didn't work and how much motivation has to drive camera movement, especially in a continuous take.
It could be as subtle as a little look or a glance, or a very strong idea was even justified in order to move away from one subject to another. But a lot of my directions to Aaron would be, like as I'm on the phone with him, would be, you know, when Jordan lets you, next, you go to Wendy.
Yeah, so Travis would also have like this shot list. So basically he'd have the roadmap, I was driving the car, and at times my eyes were even closed. And I was just like, he's kind of telling me, it's like the rally races or something. It's like, you know, left degree, you know, 5 degrees left coming up. And it's like, okay, I'm ready. But then sometimes the turns would change. And so he was there to kind of help me there. But then at times we both had to make weird game time decisions together.
No, it was worse for me.
You're telling me right now I absolutely would. I mean, of course. I mean,
And now the cameraman is sort of becoming the editor live. We're trying to decide when we want a rapid fire dialogue to happen and when we want to just let it breathe and relax.
And he was literally in my ear for that. At times it was terrible. Litter boxes fall down, I had to run out, and I hopped out, and when I did, I unclipped the camera off the easy rig. Which like isn't a big deal normally, like clip it back on, but like this is the take. So I'm holding it, no big deal. I get out to the yard, it's probably 10 minutes in, I'm like, I'm getting tired. I gotta clip this back on. And I remember like there's a moment where I'm walking in and I'm kind of trying to clip it and I'm moving way too much and I can tell I'm fucking it up. And Travis is just reminding me of how badly it looks. And he's like, you're a little shaky tonight, Aaron. Yeah, no, oh yeah, okay, all right. Well, you clearly know something's wrong. And I just eventually fucking clipped it back in and I was like, there we go. I don't think it was a take, but it was so funny. And it was funny that I couldn't tell him what was wrong. He didn't know what was wrong. That's just like one little part of the puzzle.
Oh, flashbacks. This is PTSD. So no, we were shooting wide open, so very shallow depth of field. And Aaron being on the easy rig, the camera was constantly moving, so I was just pulling focus, just eyes were just peering through the monitor.
Luke had a soccer game in Buffalo, and he was racing down literally minutes away from starting. And
I think it was just a rehearsal.
Yeah, it was a live day.
Was that a live day? No. Oh, no.
You have to start at 7:03 today, 7:03 and 30 seconds. By the time we get to Act 3, it's going to allow the right lighting for the right moment. Literally, Sherry and I were already in our little, like, cockpit.
The garage in a back corner, very hot.
Luke just like crawls over our legs.
Probably smelled awful, had to sit next to Travis the whole time.
huddled in front of the monitors.
It was like I just sat down, picked up the controller, and just started rolling. So.
That
was very funny.
I had Travis in my left ear, and I had all of the extras in my right ear.
All right, you're gonna go to zone 2, Ross.
I would get prompts and like, now, go, this, that, and it was interesting.
Hey, Ross!
That's it. Good
The
job,
lawnmower
Lisa.
throughout the movie, plays an important role as far as timing and tone, as to how loud you hear the lawnmower.
And you're 10, because I'm gonna have a roommate.
What? A roommate, Mom?
There's like a newer, deeper quiet and hush that falls over the group.
That just totally.
And the one time that the timing of the lawnmower was like spot on, 3 seconds later, a neighbor who we don't have control over starts mowing their lawn.
He just does my part.
Mom, I remember. A roommate?
So it's dueling lawnmowers.
It's another friend.
We finally get that under control, and then like a pack of motorcycles goes by and just rev and make a lot of noise.
Who's your roommate then?
It feels like suddenly you're in like a sci-fi war zone with all these spaceships landing.
Who's your roommate then?
Just out of frame, and our characters are still trying to get through this new information. My mom has a roommate.
Who's your roommate then?
Well, it's good friend.
So who's your roommate then?
Well, it's another friend.
It was very, very fun.
He is so nice.
The people working on this isn't their daytime job. This is like, all right, we just got out of work, and how can we help? What are we doing? And then we have a pandemic.
Yeah, it seems like every other production stopped, whether it was local or if it was big-time features, but we decided to move forward. We just understood the guidelines, knew what we had to do, implemented the right procedures, and did it according to plan.
They say if you can make a film during a pandemic, you can make a film anytime. That's the old saying.
I honestly hope that it brings a new light to films that everyday people like us can make.
Let's make a movie! But then all she understands next is that
It's like a movie.
It is like a movie.
It's like a movie.
It's like a movie.
Much more. That's much more.
Yeah. Mother's Day is finished.
And this is Olivia.
Hi, baby. Yay!
One of the best opening shots I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh. The opening scene was the most thrilling experience I've had in a while.
That motorcycle scene, the drone shot, is my favorite part of the film.
When the drone first takes off, it's like kind of heart-throbbing. It's just super cool. Music hits right. The speed is just right. It's like it feels like it just rips everything away. But it doesn't. It really flies that way. You know, I think that is a very special moment. I think, especially considering not sure how we were going to do that.
We know that we have a movie that is essentially two people in a static location for the majority of the film, almost an hour and 45 minutes. That's a very, very big obstacle for a movie-going audience to get over because it breaks almost every convention that they're used to. And we wanted to start this movie with as signature or as big as a bang as we could so that you felt like, oh goodness, I'm in good hands, to really gain trust early.
And I think even in the beginning, I remember like having doubts about it being a winner because it was mostly because of the beginning, where it was just like, our big thing was like if someone gets taken out in the beginning, then that's like damning to the story. You know, like does the technique actually serve a purpose? Because at that point we're doing something just to do it and not to like actually immerse someone.
Somewhere here, the audience is super surprised because it goes, we're like, whoa, we were flying the whole time. Or we weren't flying, but we switched somewhere. We wanted some of the thrill ride of this to actually be in camera, for the audience to feel like they're inside the magic trick more with us.
But doing that seamlessly because we tried all these different techniques with you know, a gimbal on a camera out the sunroof of a car. We tried on the back of a truck. We tried different drones, Inspire with a better camera. I was wrong. This will not work. That's where I'm at. All of them were just terrible. Honestly, they just didn't work.
We wanted you to feel like you were flying and that this experience was sort of a rush.
It was going to have to be something more than just a camera car, whether that was stabilized or handheld.
Well, what happens if we take technology that's normally used in one application but make it simulate something else? And the results of that were fantastic.
So an FPV drone is usually not used in a movie. They're also very new technology, maybe in the last like 4 years. So what these are meant for is racing drones. And so what people used to do is they would just fly them around as fast as they could.
You're actually locked in like a video game almost, and you're seeing what the drone's seeing.
They wear goggles and they just race.
We did quite a few tests of it in Buffalo, which were super cool.
It's hard because the initial thought is always really cool. Because it's just cool. It's a fast-moving drone. You're seeing perspectives you've never seen. The guy's flipping and twirling, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. And so, but once you get past that, you're like, well, does it work though? You know, you're seeing these weird maneuvers, and they are very cool, but they're definitely saying a lot of different things.
The moment I saw that shot for the first time when we tested it, I fell in love with it, and I just said, I've seen this shot before, but never in a movie. So like, let's take the next step and make this more cinematic.
Use your capabilities, which is going fast, quickly, being small and agile, being smooth. Use those attributes to get rid of the rest. You know, you fly through those trees, you go up through the power lines, you kind of feel the turns, just like how the motorcycle would.
Angles that we just would have never been able to get with a standard drone that kind of locks on and is very robotic in its movements.
That really gave it more story and feeling to be like, yeah, this is a gorgeous place. And I like to think that when you watch it, you don't think of what the camera's doing, you're more of just in awe of what's happening. You go past the horses and the galloping, and it's just, you're just taking it in rather than thinking about how they did it.
What was your first reaction to when you learned that the team was going to fly a drone over a mile?
All the film was shot at this point except for the nursing home scene and the drone. And so the rest of the movie is kind of like in the rear view window.
A dirty driveway is a bad driveway.
I do it every morning.
I know, even on a day where you got a big film happening, you
Yeah.
play in the driveway.
Part of the routine.
It's all about routine, yep. That's the success.
Yeah, so I enter the shot, and then I go on the bike, and it's all me on the bike the whole time. And there's actually it's all me. I was able to do it. Okay, so yeah, I don't know how to ride a motorcycle. I still don't think I do, but
the drone goes from about 0 to 60, you know, in about 2 seconds. And the motorcycle's got to go from about 0 to like 100.
I don't know what his problem was. He was so worried about that.
All right, so Travis, are we going to let's turn that into a bicycle?
So there, on that day, Travis is wearing the same exact clothes as Jordan.
Double vision.
So we start in the morning, and then it's a shot of me.
Me and my dad are following to try to help the dog. Right behind Aaron, who's like palming a drone like it's a little bird in his hand.
And then right before I get on to the bike, I'm talking to my dad.
Okay, we're gonna look at the dad. for a little bit. And meanwhile, Travis is like,
Immediately grab the helmet from Mike and start to strap it on.
he hops on the bike, and then I kind of go back to Travis, and now it's Travis, and he's just like, yep, I'm just me, you know,
And everything has to be super calm, but it's quite the opposite on the other side of the camera. Just off frame, a camera car with Mark Braun in it, ready to go high speed.
Which was probably my favorite thing of the entire project.
The camera, the little FPV is just floating in his hand.
He pulls away and then he freaking vrooms it going 70 miles per hour.
You know, he kind of like lets it go. And
the release has to be right, then have to take off. So Travis takes off, drone takes off. If you even get those two things right, you're like, okay, cool. Now the car has to take off to catch up with them.
Because we have to be within close range to actually operate the drone.
Yeah, Mark Braun.
It's just madness. And so finally they're going, the drone's going across the field. Now you're like, okay, hopefully the pilot does a good job.
But the FPV pilot has goggles on, so their eyes are up in the sky.
Which is extremely jarring for someone who's wearing goggles in a moving car, going like 80 miles an hour, and then trying to fly this thing.
And it was just intense. There was a couple of hard turns. When turns are coming, it's left turn coming in 3, 2, 1, here we go, nice and smooth, slow it down, and then pick it up right back up again. We got another guy in the back that's talking to the other people that are holding out the streets.
Approaching takeoff from Travis's dad.
Cole's on the phone telling Travis to go faster, 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 brake, 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 you know, it's just chaos.
There was so much happening. There were so many elements, and there were so many players that had to be in place in order for that to be successful. And there are also so many elements that were completely out of our control.
You know, like, is the horse gonna be in the right position? Like, will there be a flare, you know? But most of the times it was just overcast dullness.
We did a few runs in the morning, but we knew that we really wanted to ideally shoot this in the evening, in the afternoon light, because we could see a much more dynamic sky.
So yeah, and then there's another hidden cut. The drone goes into trees right before Heritage.
And in order for it to work, we had Aaron standing, but he had to stand like hidden.
This is a super wide field of view. So I'm just tucked behind a car. I'm waiting for someone to basically tell me to go because I'm like, I'm out of the shot.
And he came running out.
And now the drone's kind of descending down.
And he had to catch the drone perfectly and gently, almost like a ballerina, just have it just drop in his hand.
So it's just this beautiful dance, and we would drill these things.
Like launching and receiving the drone. We practiced that probably 50 times. And I just have to count them down and be like, okay, and I wouldn't always be good. Sometimes I'd have to grab it sooner, I'd be like, 1, 2, go! You know, there's times where I was like, 3, 2, 1, no! You know, so it wasn't very consistent either because it just wasn't.
And he did it.
I grabbed it right, and then from there it's like, okay, now we have to like do a scene, you know. So now we're like starting the arc, you know, and I'm like seeing people pull up, and I'm like, okay, hopefully they remember their lines.
It's me back on the bike, and then I park the bike, and then we take that whole scene into Heritage Village.
We're just always trying to not use the same combination twice of motorcycle driver, of cameras doing hidden cuts, to continue this flow and keep you sort of guessing. You're kind of off balance of like, is Mike always the driver? Because he's definitely driving now, he didn't switch.
And then I felt decently confident about that one. Travis worked with me, I think it was a couple weeks prior and then a couple days prior.
And then when we're looking at a time lapse, we can start to upgrade the camera.
Jordan went from Heritage Village over to Wendy's house.
If you watch it, you're just like, yeah, you went from one place to another, but it was so much more difficult than that for so many reasons. You have Mike, who's riding a motorcycle, which he's never really rode before.
I know how to ride enough for it to look like I'm riding 0.7 miles.
What you're not seeing is that right behind that camera is me, the director, holding a big monitor.
Like literally a TV screen. You have Luke pulling focus while looking at this screen.
The boom operator are all shifting behind.
We all kind of shuffle out the door, but we get to the parking lot, and at that moment,
Megan's car is pulled up and is now getting loaded up with Luke, and then I set the monitor in Luke's lap.
Yeah, and I forget that So all this happens, I hand off the camera to Cole, which is sticking out of a sunroof of a car. So he's up there, he grabs the camera, all while like, this is one take, so he's just like, I got my cool.
And hopefully, again, that handoff happens at a time that you're not really aware of it because we're just sort of static.
Mike has to, get used to letting go of the clutch in the motorcycle for the first time. I hand it off. I then run to someone who just pulled up my car.
He's replaced one of the actors in their commuter vehicle, and he's going to take a different route to get to Wendy's house, and he's going to go as fast as he can so that as our camera car is moving, he has a head start so that he can be there to receive the camera.
I'd kind of run out of my car, grab the camera, and just walk across the street, that was a big thing because cars had to be stopped.
So we're trying to time getting out of this parking lot onto a main drag, making a turn, and there's tractor trailers helping block roads, and we had other people from the crew blocking roads, and it didn't help. And so we just had to dive, go, and try to all get out.
And I'm glad I just had a helmet on because you couldn't see my actual face because I wasn't acting on that. Yeah, I'm just like in the helmet, just like, oh my God.
He's better than he might feel he is inside. He's definitely capable of it. We wouldn't have let him do it if he wasn't.
Oh my God. just get me there, please.
It's intentional that he gently looks to the right at one point in order to show his face again on the bike while he's driving it. That's a little Mike winking to the camera, like, I'm absolutely doing this, give me credit.
I mean, it was such a mix of emotions, and he would get all the way up to the driveway, and then Mike still has to be him. He's okay, going to see my mom.
I think inside he's probably almost shaking with his nerves.
Whew, I did it, I drove a motorcycle, and then we're like, okay, now be an actor again,
And after the first time, I'm like, okay, I made it, I'm good. Are we good? And then it's like, oh wait, it's not just about me. There's this whole complicated camera handoff and traffic and all this played a role into it. And I'm here just thinking, I need to get there safely. So once after the 7 takes, we finally found the shot. I was like, oh my God, this is it.
We did a bunch of takes, but we got it eventually.
Unreal.
That's a lot.
Unreal. I know, I love it.
And I thought that was going to be the most challenging part. It didn't end up even being the hardest part.
All right, I think we got to restart. We do. That's not useful. All right, let's reset.
We knew that in the bag we had a successful run with an overcast sky. It was sort of like a solid B shot.
Wasn't looking very good, so we're like, it's kind of always the thought of do we have it? Is it there?
It was hard to feel like that was gonna be it because you knew from our test that if the sun comes out, that this is a A+ potential dynamic lighting shot and would be really special.
It was kind of an emotional day with the nursing home because there was a lot of problem solving that had to be done.
You decide, you can wait. So yeah.
All right. No. And so that was very, taking a lot of gas out of the tank.
As we shot that tape, we had our eye on this giant cloud system that was coming up from Pennsylvania and Ohio.
And we looked up and the sun peeked out. No joke, the sun's peeking out, but in Gary, the sky is beautiful there. You can see it really far. But there's these gray clouds just covering it. And you can just see them moving. You can just physically see them moving, and we're like, we gotta go!
There was no coming back.
That was our last take of the day.
The company shifted.
There's a ton of stuff going on in order to make that a smooth shot and transition.
There's almost 30 people involved in that.
We're just like, let's go. Everyone's running everywhere.
So we're all switching costumes. We're trying to get Jordan's hair wet. We're trying to get the dog.
Camera's rolling. Okay, Dad, just come down here. 10, 9.
We were rushing. Someone didn't have microphones and had to run them out.
And it's not just a matter of what's going on in base camp to get this little driveway scene.
8, 7, Mike.
We need to clear a mile of traffic. We need to get a horse rider saddled up and outside. We need to there's different family members and people walking.
7, Mike, back up a little. 6, 5, 4.
So many, I forget until I talk about it. I'm like, there was so much stuff. I'm like, it really was crazy.
Again, to have all of this stimulation around, this is a oneer, this is a shot, we gotta get it.
You're just watching that orange sun creep.
There is only a small sliver.
You even see it in the movie, and it feels like Home Alone when they're about to leave on vacation and everyone's just running around and crossing paths.
5, 4, 3, 2.
I think before we rolled, we were just like, think we have everything. I don't even know if someone was monitoring audio. It was just like, let's just try it.
Blocker cars, just please confirm you're in position.
All set. They were able to turn that in like 10 to 15 minutes.
This is Meg, I'm in position.
This is it. We only had one go at it.
Maria's in position.
And we're all just like, okay.
2, 1. This is just keeping everything in place so we can actually get this shot.
Dad?
And so it was set up.
Approaching takeoff from Travis's dad's.
Clear.
3.
Copy that. Copy.
2.
Let go of the drone. It's
leaving.
1.
And it went.
takes off. I see the Cadillac Escalade go ripping down the street. You kind of just hear it fade off into Gary countryside.
Everybody is just cheering and cheering, like, okay, okay, okay.
Approaching the corner.
And they passed, my mark, and they passed Meg's mark and Maria's mark.
Coming your way, past me.
Like 4 or 5 minutes goes by.
And we got it.
And we did, and that's the take we used. And that's the take that we actually had some sun on. The camera movements were perfect. The horse was in the right spot. The speed was great.
Everyone hit their mark better than they had in any other practice, and that's the beauty of a great team.
It was, it was filmmaking.
Literally probably 30 moving parts, everyone in their different position did their best work on that shot, which shows in the film.
We got it. We got the shot. And I'll never forget that moment because it was all through our intercom.
That's a
Everyone's
wrap.
like,
I need to go back to the house.
I remember hearing, that's a wrap, that's a wrap. And wow,
like this is the best ever.
Like such a celebration, not only for the weight of the movie to be now behind us instead of on top of us, we also ended in the exact way we would have wanted to, which was nailing a shot with the perfect light.
Someone came driving up and they were like, they got it. It was great. She's like super happy and she's like, it was perfect. They got it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was so happy. And there's a tree in Jay's front yard, actually the tree that Jordan walks under. And I just like laid down and I was like, I just like laid down on my back. I looked up. It was like a beautiful sky. I took a picture with my phone.
That was when I was most actively loving making the film. The camaraderie and the accomplishment and the friendship and even like the technical aspect that we had achieved there.
yes, we did it. We did it. We finished our first feature film and we got the shot that we needed.
And it's extremely complicated and fun and quite the adventure for the team involved in that, and it's great.
But that was a moment where, like, for whatever reason, my mind was willing to digest, like, this is a moment you'll remember. And I do remember that moment because I felt like, I was like, we did it, you know, everyone did it. I could hear people like cheering on the porch over on the other side, and it was really emotional to kind of think that we accomplished something, you know, we made a movie.
Hello again. I'm Travis, the writer and director of Mother's Day. This movie was made by a group of volunteers. This was not a Hollywood budget, and we do not have a Hollywood marketing budget. You are literally the only way that people are going to discover this. So if you like what you saw, or you want to pass this along to anybody, please feel free to share it, spread the word, and if you feel so inclined to give a donation to the team that did this by themselves for over 2 years, you can go over to panamericanfilms.com. Usually only about 1% of the people who see messages like this will actually go and donate. But we would really appreciate you specifically. If you would be the one who takes action, we would really help to compensate the crew and the cast who worked over 2 years of their life to bring this to life for you for free. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and from Pan American Films, and from the hundreds of thousands of families that deal with this every day. Thank you.